My grandmother Lila was a beautiful woman. She was troubled. She wrote volumes and volumes of poetry. But she once said that happiness was like a good friend that owes you money. You know they're there, but they just don't come around much.
This is the first time I've been here on this side of my city across the river. I went to a pawn shop and I found this lovely lady holding a little fluted glass of champagne. And I just had to have her. Every year it's so fun to go shopping for fall clothes. I love the fall colors and the fall styles, no matter what. I always loved earth tones, and I love orange. Maybe not that orange, but I like orange. Oh, those are so cute. Do you think grown-up girls actually buy Snoopy sheets for themselves? Is that romantic? I don't know. Hey everybody, thank you so much for coming back and seeing me and Desi today. I hope you had a good, happy summer week. And can you believe it? We only have about 3 more weeks of summer. Yep, and then it's going to be fall. Didn't summer just fly by? Boy, it was one amazing summer. I want to share with you a couple adventures that I had this week. And it all started when I read an article that seniors are going through this crisis, a crisis of loneliness, an epidemic. And part of the article said, there's no difference between a person being lonely at 32 than a person being lonely at 72. And I thought, oh dear, that's not right. So I was like a dog with a bone. I could not stop thinking about this article and how much I disagreed with it. So I went to Marshall's, which is something I do when I'm maybe a little bit lonely, and I usually don't buy anything. I just have fun shopping. But so anyway, I get into Marshall's and I'm having a great time. And I found a couple of beautiful blouses and beautiful fall dusters and just lovely things for fall. And I look over, and there's a woman right around my age, I think, right around 70, I would be guessing. And she looked like she was having a wonderful time. And she was alone, just like me. But there was a moment where our eyes kind of met, and she winked at me like, wow, that was just so cool. And it was... I know it sounds silly, but it was like a little interaction, some tiny little gesture that made her feel not lonely, made her feel connected. And it made me feel connected too. Part of the article was talking about this epidemic of loneliness that seniors are experiencing, that now grocery stores are going to self-checkout. And that sometimes when seniors would go to the grocery store, the only social interaction they would have all week long was the banter, the conversation they had with the checkout girl or the checkout guy. And now that's gone. Well, the next day I had an appointment with Desi, and it was in a part of my city that I didn't know at all. And I was a little skittish about getting lost. But I had a couple hours to kill over there, and I saw a building and it said pawn shop. And I thought, oh boy, I'll grab my camera and we all can have an adventure. I'll go in the pawn shop and film. And so as soon as I walked in the pawn shop, oh my gosh, it was so dark and it smelled so bad. It was like a combination of mildew, old socks, and Pepto-Bismol. So I knew right away, okay, don't touch anything. But it was huge. And I went up to the counter and I asked the guy if I could film. And I knew for sure he'd say yes. And he said, absolutely not. No, they don't allow any cameras in there. They're closing in 3 days. What do they care? Anyway, so I'm heading down the aisle and it's so dark and dank. And I don't exactly know where I'm at. And the guy isn't friendly at all. And suddenly I felt lonely. I felt like I didn't have any family. I didn't have any friends. It was just this odd feeling of lonely. And I don't know if you've ever felt that way. It's kind of like what happens when you have anxiety. It's like you don't know a person in the whole world. You've just been dropped down from Mars and you're on your own. Anyway, so I keep walking down the aisle and I see strange things like bow and arrows and lots of tools, tons of tools and tires and books that I can't even describe how they smell. But out of the corner of my eye, I spot this painting of this beautiful woman from the 1920s, and she looks like my grandmother. And as soon as I saw the painting, it was like 32 by 42. I mean, it was huge. I just felt so comforted. I was like immediately like taken back to my roots. I was grounded. I felt, yeah, I'm not alone. There's my grandmother. I know it sounds corny, but it really was true. So I fell in love with the painting right away. So I yelled out to the guy, how much for the painting? Now, I know everything is cash only because they have 1,000 signs that say cash only. I only had about 20 bucks on me, cash. So he yells back, she's 200 bucks. And I thought, oh, okay. And so I kept staring at her and I kept thinking, I'll come back. Maybe I'll come back. And so I'm rounding the corner. I make it to the front door and the guy behind the counter says, hey, are you leaving? You leaving without the painting? And I said, well, yeah, I know it's cash only and I don't have $200 on me. And he said, okay, I'll give it to you for 40. And I said, oh, that's a great deal. I don't really have 40 bucks on me either. And he said, well, what do you have? I said, I have $18 in change. And he said, sold. So I got my painting and it's signed and numbered on the back. And I thought, oh, great, I get to take Grandma home. Well, the painting was so heavy and I had parked blocks away, but I didn't dare leave it in there. I honestly didn't. So I thought I'll just drag it with me, and that's what I did. So by the time I got the painting back to my car, I kind of propped her up against a brick wall and I got my camera out and I started filming. I started filming her and talking to you while I was filming with her. And suddenly I didn't feel lonely a bit. I felt part of something. It was my passion for art. It was my desire to have adventures, perhaps. It was so many things that made me feel grounded and happy and not lonely at that moment. And I read that some of the advice they give seniors not to be lonely is join a church, join a club, get a hobby. Everybody, you have a good time if you have a hobby, right? And that's good advice. But the last thing they said was get some therapy. Well, that's fine to say, but a lot of times when you're a senior and you're living on Social Security and therapy is $150 an hour, it's kind of tough to get that therapy, even though we should. So perhaps there are some things that are unique to us as seniors that we can do for loneliness that don't cost a dime. So many of you were so sweet and you liked seeing me groom Desi last week. And I was using this robot one by Ceenwes. It is a pet grooming tool that you use. It comes with a lot of attachments. And this is like a little canister vacuum. Anyway, the company saw my video and now Desi is their little ambassador. How about that? So Desi is doing a sponsored video. How about that? I am so proud of that little guy, Desi, and I also love Ceenwes because I do remember that a company hired Desi to promote their little bow ties, and then the CEO said that Desi wasn't suitable because he had a cowlick, an underbite, and a crooked tail. So I love you, Ceenwes. So it comes with about 6 attachments, and the 3 attachments that I use the most this is the massage one. Now, obviously, Desi is a gangsta, so he loves getting his massage. So he loves that a lot. This is a detangler, and this is wonderful. When Desi's coat was a little bit longer, before I trimmed him up, you can see that kind of comes out like that. You just sort of brush your pet with this and everything that might be in their hair just comes right out, is vacuumed up. It's fantastic. And then, of course, we have the trimmers. Now, the trimmers are great because you can't hurt your pet with the trimmers. They're powerful, but you can't hurt your pet with them because they give you a guard that goes over it, and I'll try to show you how that looks. So you can't get too close to their skin. I think if I had to say 3 things that I love most about this unit, it would be, number 1, it's quiet, so it doesn't scare Desi. If you have a cat or a dog that is a little nervous around noise, this is very, very quiet. And number 2 is it has different suction speeds, so for example, Desi likes it on 1, when it comes to when I am grooming him, when I am trimming his hair. But on massage, he likes it on 4. So it's adjustable. And the last thing I love about it so much is it's self-cleaning. Yeah, you don't have to clean it. It cleans itself. Down below, I will link where you can get this grooming kit. And for now, it's under $100. Now, it probably will not be around the holidays. So if you think you want to grab it as a gift or something for you and your pet, now would be the time to do it. Sponsored video. How do you feel? You feel pretty good? You did a good job, buddy. You really did. Give me 5. Give me 5. You good boy. The number 1 question that you ask me is, am I lonely? I'm single. I'm alone. I'm living in a house and running it by myself and Desi. But am I lonely? What is my life really like? You want to know. You're concerned about your future, and you want to know. So I'll tell you. Yes, sometimes I do get lonely. But there's a big difference between when I was lonely at 32 to now when I feel a little bit lonely. When I was young and I felt lonely, I knew I could fix it. I had my whole life ahead of me. Now, I realize I can't F up. I don't have the time. So I have to be very careful with the words I choose and the decisions that I make, the consequences of my actions. I don't have a lot of time to be fixing things. So I have to be careful with my life, and I am. And I am very, very happy. Loneliness and grief, they do a dance, don't they? When I feel lonely, I think about the family members that I've lost. I think about the friends that I've lost. And I know you feel this way too. One of you just told me that every single one of your best friends from high school has passed. You're the only one left. So when we feel lonely, there's a different component to it. It's grief. Well, we have tools to deal with grief, but with loneliness, it's more ambiguous. It's more mysterious. But once you realize that they work together to make us feel lonely, it helps us understand it, and it helps us conquer it. The only time I truly feel lonely is maybe in the wee hours of the morning when I wake up from a bad dream and the husband that I loved so much isn't there to comfort me. So yes, I feel lonely then. But I get up, I take Desi out, I read a few poems or listen to a song, and I'm fine. And I'm grateful to be alive. And I keep busy. I keep so busy, I don't even know what day it is. The busier I am, the happier I am, and the less lonely I am. That's how I cope with loneliness. I'm not waiting for the conversation at the grocery store with the checkout girl because it always goes bad, let's just face it. But for those of you that are worried that maybe someday you'll be alone, or maybe you're alone now and you feel you're never going to get off that couch because you feel your life is over. Your life is just beginning, and you're going to be fine. If I'm fine, the drama queen, you're going to be just fine. I guarantee it.
It helps to know loneliness as we age is just grief dressed up in a pretty red dress with matching lipstick and lovely, sexy shoes. But once we recognize this, loneliness begins to lose all its power over us.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. I loved every second of it. And if you get a chance down below, could you share something that helps you not feel so lonesome? Please have yourself a wonderful, happy, brand new week. And when you're done with your week, you come back and see me and Desi, okay? All right, it's a deal. We'll be here. Yeah, why you look so sad? He looks so sad. He's cold. Good time today talking to you. I always do. I can't tell you how much I love you. I read your comments every week and they mean so much to me. Do you know how much you mean to me? You tell me that I mean something to you. Well, right back at you.